Hello and welcome to UK Versus. Today I'm following on from my gameplay with the dev of Shard Bugs, and where we get to take a look at the actual physical product of the game. Shard Bugs has been nice enough to send me out a content creator kit to review the cards, take a look at the cards in person, and I just realised I forgot one of the really cool things. So the Shard Bug company sent me out 3-star decks from set 1, the set 1 The Beginnings, the set 2 Bugs for Hire, a really cool playmat that I'll open in a second, a 3D printed card stand, and a wide selection of promos. Wide selection of alternate art sort of promo cards, Cloth Moth, Saturn Seer, Acolyte Sol, Beetle Warrior, Ant Warrior, and a Worm Warrior. These are really cool and a good example of neutral units, Sol units, and Lunar units. No Mars in there, but we'll get into Mars when we get into the Meteor Fall box. It also came with this very cool comic, which this is issue 2. This story follows on with Dave the Slug, who is featured in some of the cards as the Slugsmith, and I'll get into it. I'll do a completely separate video on the comic alone, but it's just talking about Dave's journey from awakening in this new form into where he is at the following his journey into becoming a kind of mercenary for hire warrior, not aligned with any of the cosmic deities, and that kind of goes into what the game is about. In this world, shards of the cosmic deities have awakened an evolution in insectoids, making them intelligent, progressing their culture, making them stronger, smarter. But as when you have anything with multiple deities, conflict arises between them, and that is what the crux of Shard Bugs is. You build a hive, you build a field of your bugs, bringing mercenaries for hire who do not have any alignment to any of the cosmic deities, and utilizing your Mars, Sol, Lunar, and whatever other factions come out. You utilize their devotion to your cosmic deity to win the game. You have to get up to 20 devotion. You can have your devotion reduced by your opponent attacking you, and also through other abilities. It is a really cool concept, and I've already got a couple of gameplay videos out. But for now, let's get into the products and let's talk a little bit about what we're getting from here. I'm going to break this down into multiple videos, so I'm going to stop here for the intro and move into looking at the individual products. But first of all, we need to take a look at this playmat, because this playmat looks absolutely amazing. So the playmat has its individual zones of play. We have the field, which is where your insects will come down. This is where your combat, devotion, abilities all kind of get activated. We have the hive. This is where once per turn this is where you can take one of your insectoids from your hand, put it into the hive, and utilize it for dust, either a colorless dust if it's a mercenary unit, or a devotion dust of the cosmic avatar that you are playing. If I have a Cloth Moth in here, I can exhaust it, and I can add 1 Sol dust, allow me to play other Sol units such as the Cloth Moth, as well as the colorless mercenary unit. We have our deck zone, we have our splat zone. The splat zone is where cards go when they are destroyed, when they are discarded, when they leave the field of play, when they are milled, when they just go from any zone to an out of play zone. That's the splat zone, and there are some very cool aspects for utility of cards getting splatted on the splat zone. And I do love the name of the splat zone, because that's kind of what happens with bugs in real life. When people mess about with them, they get splatted, they get swatted. It's a very cool aspect. Then we have the avatar zone. This is where your cosmic deity, object of your bug's devotion goes. They have some very cool abilities, they have some cool synergies that feed into what your deck needs to be doing, and the avatars thrown, as far as I've seen, doesn't really have any interactions. It feels sort of like other games where you have this uninteractable leader that just benefits your place, that benefits you through play, but doesn't get messed with. Your opponent cannot destroy your avatar, but your avatar can impact the way games are going down. Let's take a look at these pre-constructed theme decks. We have Lunar, we have Sol, and we have Mars. Sol is your aggression. These are your low cost, low devotion units, but they're cheap. They come in and they bolster each other through having this swarm mentality. The more bees you have in your hive, the stronger the bees in your field become. The more ants you have in your field, the stronger your ants become. And the idea behind it is to bolster devotion. You play lots of small cards fast, so you want to be drawing more cards, and you want to be flooding your field with these ants and other insectoids that will be feeding into your devotion, and you want to just overwhelm your opponent in numbers. Lunar is a bit more mid-rangey. You are going to be similar to Sol in that you're going to be getting units down quite quickly, but you have some high cost, high power units and some synergies from having a more controlled conservative playstyle, where you're looking more to control your opponent's rate of play whilst utilizing your own synergies, not having these huge swing impactful turns, but more just consistently playing strong insectoids that all do things and applying pressure to your opponent in a bit more of a slow fashion, whilst controlling their devotion with powerful aggro units. And then we have Mars. Mars is the control deck. It's kind of a bit awkward in the colouring because people who play TCGs see red, see aggro, see full throttle. The Shard Bugs went, no, we're going to take red and we're going to make it our control colour. We want red to be stop, slow down. It's a bit slower. It's more about controlling your opponent's board, controlling your opponent's devotion, synergizing with these long-term plans, and getting yourself in a position of, it's going to take me a lot longer to get there, but by doing this, I'm going to slowly and surely increase my resources, my state, while my opponent struggles to execute their game plan. I think it's really cool, very strong, but we can get more into that now when we take a look at the cards. So let's take a look at the most aggressive and fastest devotion output deck with the Sol deck. Sol Solar Storm is the god of light. Is the god of light and life, wants harmony and growth, and wants that growth to be exponential. Let's take a look at what we have in the cards. Cosmic Avatar Sol. This is a really cool card in my opinion. In terms of the art, absolutely gorgeous, with this flowing regal kind of dress with this embodiment of light. And for 2 Sol Dust, you are able to draw a card once per turn. You generate dust by taking bugs from your hand, putting them into your hive, and then exhaust them to generate dust of their devotion. So a Sol bug will create Sol dust, and a unaligned bug will create unaligned dust. We'll get a bit more into those interactions and how they work when we get into the deck, but for now, take a look at the units we get in here. And although Sol is a deck that utilizes fast, aggressive devotion farming, it does need some defensive aspects, and nothing is more defensive than the Spiny Swordmaster. This unit costs 5, only has 1 devotion, so it's not a devotion farming unit, but you may splat a card from your hand, such as the Bomber Botfly, as we talked about if you've watched the Lunar one, which is a unit that when it's splat you get to draw a card. This bug will gain 3 attack for the rest of the turn, and it has Stomp, which means any damage that isn't dealt to a blocking unit carries over into your opponent's devotion. So to win this game, we need to commit our devotion to get our avatar to 20 devotion, and by attacking our opponents, we get to reduce their devotion by the attack amount. So base, this is free, but if we can discard a card from our hand, we can get plus. If we can split a card in our hand, we get +3 attack, and we have stomp, forcing our opponent to either block with 6 defensive health, or lose that much devotion, taking them away from their win condition. The Blessing for Soul. This is our most expensive unit in the deck, and so we're going to go through our hand quite quickly. We're going to put out a lot. We're going to put out a lot of units, and we're going to be sort of have an increased size field. The Blessing of Soul for 1 colorless dust. So no matter what kind of unit no matter what bug you use in your hive to create the dust, you are able to pay it, and once per turn, give one of your units an additional 2 devotion. This would take things like the Swordmaster from 1 devotion up to 3 devotion. That is so much devotion to deal with, and just being able to exhaust that and use it once per turn. Yes, you're only allowed 1 support at a time. You can't have all 3 down and go, I'm going to give 3 of my units plus 1 of my units plus 6, because that would be insane. One of the very cool things about Shard Bugs is that when deck building, when looking at rarity, it tells you how many cards you're allowed to have. So for the Golden Field Ants, this is a common card, and and then we can see that in the middle we have 5 bug heads. This means that we're allowed to have 5 copies of this card in our decks. The Blessing of Soul is a rare, which has 3, so we're allowed to have 3 of them in our deck. The Spiny Swordsman is a 4, so you're allowed to have 4, but as we can see here, it's not a requirement that you have 4. Well, having 2 is allowed, and our avatar is a avatar cost of 1. You're only allowed 1 avatar in your deck. The Golden Field Ants is a 1 cost, 1 devotion, 1 attack, 1 defense unit, but has a very cool ability of when this ant is splat, you get a 1/1 unaligned token with tunneling. So if you need to block this, if your opponent attacks it, pulls focus, destroys it, yes, you lose your ability to generate devotion, but the Blessing of Soul can counteract that. But you also just go, cool, I have another defensive unit in place, and I also have some great synergy for my next unit, which is the Gilded Sentry Ants. The Gilded Sentry Ants are 2 cost, 2 devotion, 1 attack, 1 defense unit that say this bug gets +1 defense for every other ant in play. So the more of these you have down, you get +1. The more with the Gilded Ants, you get +1. When the Gilded Ants get splat, you get another token, and you get to keep the +1. This allows you to have a 2 devotion unit that is harder to deal with the more units you play, and how cheap these units are and how much we're drawing. We're going to be able to keep utilizing it and have this kind of fast infestation move of putting lots of units down. I'll come back to the unaligned units after I've gone through the soul units. Speaking of fast devotion growth, the Woolly Bear is a 2 cost, 1 devotion, 1 attack, 1 health unit that you can have 3 of in your deck, that although doesn't do anything much for your field, one of the cool things about Shard Bugs is when you play units into the hive or when you play units into the field, they are allowed to move states. So I can pay 2 to have the Woolly Bear go into my stage, or I can once per turn exhaust this and move it into my hive. Woolly Bear is a dust dog. It gives you 2 dust when it's in your hive, but as a cost for this, when you play it from your hand into the hive, it enters exhausted. That is a shame, but if you can get this out on your first turn, you can set yourself up very strong and be able to play a lot of your units very quickly. Speaking of units that utilize the synergy of the field and the hive, we have the Honey Alchemist. The Honey Alchemist is one that when it moves from your field to your hive, it does not get exhausted. It does enter your field dizzy, so you cannot do this immediately, but on your next turn you can take it from your field, move it into your hive, still play another card into your hive, and have access to more resources than you would have done, allowing you to get this exponential growth. This is a 1 devotion unit, but being able to utilize this into, say, more gilded ant centuries and get even more devotion is very powerful, as well as being able to pump things like the boot, which is a removal action. Commander Orchard is a 4-cost free 2 with 2 devotion, but when this bug is splat, you make 2 1/1 unaligned ant tokens with tunneling. So this is a 2 devotion card. It's a free attack, free health, so it's a great defender. And the moment it dies, or the moment it gets splat from your hand, from your deck, from your field, you get 2 1/1 ant tokens, which feed into the Gilded Ant Sentry. And although they have no devotion on face, the Blessing of Soul can turn them into a 2 devotion unit. The Blessing of Soul allows you to turn anything into a 3 devotion unit. Talking about devotion bombs, we have the Devoted Ladybug, a 2-cost, 1 devotion, 1 attack, 1 health unit that just has exhaust. Splat this bug, you gain 3 devotion. If you need that final push, if you just need to get above the grade of what your opponent's doing, being able to splat the Devoted Ladybug and go, yes, I now gain 3 devotion, you can turn the tide of a game, you can win. There are many times where you can think you've not got it, and then you remember the Devoted Ladybug can triple its own devotion for 1 turn by splatting itself. And the fact that you can have 4 of these in a deck is very powerful if you can get them out. This is a great one to kind of keep in your hive, and then as you get closer to the victory, sneak them into your field and go, cool, deal with this, or next turn you're going to be in trouble. Bumble Speaker is a very cool B unit. It's a 2-cost, 2 devotion, but it gains +1 defense for every bee in your hive, not in your field. Unlike the Gilded Ant Sentry, Gilded Ant Sentry can get weaker by you attacking and dealing damage to ants in the field, but the hive is a very hard place to actually interact with. So having this 2 devotion unit that sits in your field and gets stronger for every Bumble Speaker you play from your hand or from your field into the hive can allow you to keep them around for longer. Yes, it's only a 1/1 for now, but it can get to a 1/2, 1/3, 1/4 very quickly. A very powerful unit that you allow 5 of in your deck, and each pump for 2 devotion. Let's take a look at our mercenary units now. We have the Slug Brute. This is a 3-cost, 4 power, 4 attack, 3 health stomp unit. Stomp again carries over when your opponent doesn't match the damage with defense. So being a 3-cost with 4 power is very powerful. 0 devotion, but again, Blessing of Soul will help deal with that. And 3 health means that this is a great way to go, I'm going to be pumping out devotion, but I need a way to deal with yours. And Stomp on this unit helps out a lot. In a similar vein, we have the Diving Bell Sentry. This is a 2-cost, 2 attack, 3 health Venom unit. Venom puts -1/-1 counters onto an opposing bug. So, in this game, when you deal damage, at the end of the turn, the damage kind of regenerates. Your units heal. Venom, however, puts -1/-1 counters in combat onto a unit, and they don't go away. They don't regenerate. So what the Sentry does here is allows you to progressively make an opponent weaker. That is so very powerful. The Bomber Botfly, as we talked about a moment ago, when you can splat this to draw a card. This is good with things like the Swordmaster that allows you to splat it to give +3 attack, and then you get to draw a card from it here. This is good with things like Morning Dew, which we'll get to when we go into the actions. That it's a utility card that gives you benefit for paying the natural cost of your cards. Next, we have Dave Swiftfoot, a hard shell focus 3-cost unit with a 2/4. Hard shell means when it's defending, it has +1 health, and focus means it can pull enemy bugs into combat with it. And it has a 0 cost for equipment to attach to it. So the equipment in this deck, we have the Lollipop Warhammer, which can only be equipped to a bug, a beetle, slug, or snail. It has a 2 play cost. It has a 2 equipment cost, but for Dave here, it's 0. And the equipped bug gets +2 attack and stomp, turning Dave here into a 4/4 unit with stomp at no additional cost. On top of that, we have the Bottle Cap Shield, which is a 1 cost, 1 equip cost, can go onto any unit, and the equipped bug gets +2 defense, making it a lot stronger and harder to deal with when allowing you to carry on this devotion farming. In terms of the actions, we have the Shovel, our rare action, 7 cost, and you get to produce 6/1/1 ants, 3 2/2 beetles, or 2 3/3 worms. The 6/1/1 ants can be absolutely amazing for the Gilded Sentry ants, allowing you to have a long line of chump blockers to keep your devotion alive, and then on top of that, allowing you to have the Gilded Sentry ants become very tanky units that are going to be able to commit for devotion and not be able to be killed. The boots, we mentioned this earlier on, this is a removal action. You pay 1 and X, and then you pump any amount of dust you want into here and deal X damage to a bug. So that's the amount you put into this unit. That's the amount of dust you put into this action with the after the cost of the 1. A very good way to deal with enemy units. Again, in the lines of being hard to deal with the Gilded Sentry, with the Shovel being able to pump them up, we have the Sunflowers. The Sunflowers are a 3 cost location that give all of your solar bugs, your soul bugs, +1 defense, making your mercenaries unfortunately don't get to benefit from that, but your bumble speakers, your orchids, your ants, your ladybugs are going to be harder to deal with by 1, just because they're aligned with your avatar. And the last card to talk about here is our uncommon Morning Dew. Morning Dew is a very cool card that says draw 2 cards, then splat a card from your hand. So in this game, you only draw 1 card at the beginning of your turn, and you Morning Dew for 3 cost let you draw 2 cards and splat 1. And if you can splat the Bomber Botfly, allowing you to then draw an additional card, is very powerful. And the fact that we get to have 5 Bomber Botflies in our deck means we're going to consistently see them, allowing us to utilize them as this cost fodder. It's a very cool card, a great way to draw more cards. And as you can see from here, this 5 cost unit is the highest cost. Nothing else kind of goes above a 3, and even then, that's none of the really aligned bugs. These are all low cost, high impact bugs with big defensive butts that are kind of coming in, wanting to stay on the field, wanting to keep generating devotion going. I'm going to just keep pumping in devotion. I have my units to deal with your devotion, but what I primarily want to do is have you worried about my devotion output and how you're going to handle it rather than the other way around. This is an aggressive devotion machine, and I'm really interested to see how this goes down. Devoted Ladybug seems like a late game bomb that your opponent needs to be aware of. This has some very early aggression and a great way to kind of learn aggressive devotion tactics within Shard Bugs. Getting to 20 devotion is not too hard when you have multiple units that have 2 on face. You have a support that allows you to get another 2 onto anything. Producing double-digit devotion in a single turn is not too hard for Sol. It's a very cool deck to face and to play, and I'm really excited to see how this deck goes down. And it's a great way to kind of introduce people to Shard Bugs. I love the fact that these are all inspired by real-life bugs. I like the way they've added this fantasy and magical aspect to everyday aspects, like the bug, like a lollipop being a warhammer, whilst also you keeping in with the bugs. The art's absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to see where this game goes. They're taking some of the best aspects and resource systems and influences from other TCGs and we're going to take the best aspects of them and use them in a whole new way. The fact that you can put things into your hive to utilize later, the fact you can move things from your field to your hive, if something's not being impactful, if something's not doing what it needs to do on the field, moving it to the hive to generate more resources. It's such a cool system. I really like what this card game's doing, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to go in the future. Let me know what your favorite unit from the solar deck is, and if this is the kind of deck you would like to play. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to move on to the other decks. Be sure to check them out on the channel here, and I will catch you all at game night for theories, news, or more. Win, lose, or draw. Keep it UK versus. Bye.